My fiancé, 33 years old, and I, 25 years old, have been engaged for 2 years and planning our wedding. We met 4 years ago and have been together since. Before me, he was in a very toxic, aggressive relationship with Elle, 32 years old. They were together for 8 years, and she never accepted their breakup, even after being broken up for years. She still had contact with his family despite him asking them not to. When she found out we were together, she started to stalk me. She made her friends follow me on social media, followed my friends, messaged my mother and sister on Facebook, and texted him from multiple numbers, no matter how many times he blocked her. She even texted from her work cell. She also sent emails and phone calls. She would park her car in front of his house and wait for him to get back from my house. And she called his mother a couple of times to cry about how poorly she was being treated. She claimed that she just wanted to talk and make amends. She told their shared friends and family that he was trading a 10-year relationship that had been over for 2 years before meeting me. She just continued counting to be with a kid. She said that I was just using him and said a lot of other negative things. His family neither mistreated me nor treated me well. They pretended I wasn't there, except for one of his aunts, who made it very clear that I was not staying for long. She believed that one day my fiancé would see the mistake he made and get back with Elle. I never responded and made it very clear to my fiancé that I would not get involved, but he needed to deal with Elle and his family if he wanted a future with me. So, he did. The last text she sent after that, Elle said she would wait for my fiancé no matter how long it took, and that their relationship was not over. For the past years, we've been living in peace, apart from a couple of emails that went straight to the trash from his ex. His family treats me okay now, and we have dinner at his mom's regularly with all his family. They are very close. In October, though, his ex started to email and text frequently again. She said she still loves him and doesn't want to see him waste his life on a failed marriage. She claimed that he only needs a little convincing before September, our wedding date. The thing is, she is blocked on every social media platform we have, and we never posted our wedding date. We just told a couple of family members that it might be in September since we are still planning everything, and the invitations were not even ready yet. It was a little odd, but we didn't think much of it and pretended it never happened. On Christmas, we went to dinner at his mother's, and while talking to my fiancé's cousins, I found out that Elle still visits his family and is invited to many social events that we were never invited to. I was so mad, I didn't even think, I just told my fiancé about it, and he got very angry. He started to demand an explanation, but nobody said anything. They just looked very uncomfortable from being confronted like that. So, he asked me to grab our stuff, and he told his family they betrayed him. He said that they know what he went through with Elle and still kept her around. His parents tried to convince him it was just a misunderstanding and that it wasn't like that, but he just wanted to leave. Before we left, he told his mother to warn people inside that they would not be invited to our wedding and that they were dead to him. Since then, he blocked his family, and his mother continuously asks if we are really not inviting their family. She thinks it is too harsh of a decision. After all, family is family, and she believes he needs to think better about it. She thinks everybody will be very upset, and he needs to consider their feelings. When he blocked her too, she came to me and demanded that I put some reason into him. She asked me not to fuel a family fight over something so little. She said that he only found out that Elle still goes to their family parties because I told him. So she thinks it is my responsibility to fix the situation I caused. I lost it and told her to go to hell. It is not my fault their family is messed up enough to keep my fiancé's aggressor coming to their house behind his back. I told her that our marriage will be for the people that love us and want to celebrate our love. I also said that if his family, including her, really loved him, they would have respected his wishes and cut contact with his ex when they broke up. She only has contact with them to provoke my fiancé. Now my mother-in-law has told everybody about our conversation, and they say that I am the reason he is cutting off his family. They believe that Elle was right about me all along. I couldn't care less about what his family thinks of me, but I have been wondering if I am the jerk for not encouraging him to make amends with his family. They were all very close to each other, and I am excluding them from our wedding. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Nope, not the jerk. Regardless of how you feel about them personally or the whole Elle situation or anything, if a person does not want to associate with anyone for any reason, that is up to them and should be respected. Doesn't matter if it's a friend, family, or your own twin. He has set a boundary and you're respecting his boundary, which is what good family members do. His family doesn't respect his boundaries, and now there are consequences. Comment 2. Your fiancé's family is facing the consequences of their own actions. Instead of circling the wagons and protecting their son from that crazy, hurtful witch, they continued to invite her in, include her in family functions, and feed into her delusional hopes for reconciliation. I have a feeling his family will dial up their crazy the closer the wedding date gets. Update me, please. Now for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been a week since my last post, and boy do I have an update for you all. After the Christmas blowout, things have been, well, let's just say intense. So remember how my fiancé's ex Elle was still creeping around his family events? Well, turns out she was doing more than just showing up. After my last post, my fiancé's cousin, who's always been more of a friend to us than the rest, came clean about something that made our jaws drop. Elle had been feeding his family lies about me, saying that I was the one who insisted on keeping them out of the wedding plans. She painted herself as the victim, the one trying to save my fiancé from a terrible mistake. But here's the kicker. She had somehow convinced his aunt, the one who never liked me, that she was pregnant with my fiancé's child. Can you believe that? The aunt had been pushing for Elle to be part of the family again, thinking she was carrying her grandnephew or niece. Of course, it was all a lie, but the damage was done. My fiancé was livid when he found out. He confronted his aunt, and she broke down, admitting she had been fooled by Elle's deception. She apologized profusely, realizing she had been manipulated into turning against me. It was a whole scene, with tears and apologies flying everywhere. Meanwhile, Elle's antics didn't stop there. She showed up at my fiancé's workplace, causing a scene that had everyone talking. She was escorted out by security, but not before she shouted for the whole office to hear that she would never let him marry me. My fiancé was mortified, and his boss, who had heard about the drama from my fiancé before, was surprisingly understanding and supportive. But here's the surprise twist. During all this chaos, my fiancé's mom, who had been on the fence, finally saw Elle's true colors. She was there when Elle made a scene at the office and was shocked by her behavior. It was like a light bulb went off, and she realized that her son's happiness was more important than keeping up appearances with Elle. After that, his mom came to our place, not to demand anything, but to apologize. She said she was sorry for not believing us and for letting Elle manipulate the family. She admitted she missed her son and didn't want to lose him over this nonsense. It was a heartfelt moment, and my fiancé, who's a big softie at heart, forgave her. They hugged it out, and it felt like a huge weight had been lifted off everyone's shoulders. Now, for the past week, we've been getting calls and messages from various family members apologizing and asking for forgiveness. They all admitted they were wrong for not standing by us from the start. It's been a joyride of emotions, but it feels like we're finally getting the support we should have had all along. As for the wedding, we're back to planning, and this time with his family's blessing. They've been helping out, and it's actually been really nice to have them involved. We've decided to keep the guest list small, though, only including those who truly want the best for us. And Elle? Well, after the office incident, she's been quiet. I think she finally got the message that her games weren't going to work. My fiancé and I are stronger than ever, and we're just focusing on each other and our future together. My daughter's obsession with TikTok fame puts her unborn child second, so I stage an intervention, and what her husband reveals next makes us take drastic action to save their family. I, 50-plus-year-old male, have a daughter, 26-year-old female. She is currently a TikTok influencer and pregnant with a boy. She is obsessed with this influencing thing, with everything being about the numbers. Her husband has been evicted to the attic because he ruins her aesthetic. That is for the videos. He isn't allowed to bring his items or clothes outside of it, and whenever he forgets a cup on the table, she will scream. My wife and I tried to guide her into therapy and have been paying for the appointments, but we do not know if she has actually been going. And now she is pregnant, which means it isn't just her and my son-in-law's problem. It is also a problem for my grandson. She wants no toys in the house for similar reasons and has banned us from buying any. She doesn't want colorful baby clothes because the baby will stand out too much in her videos. And then there is the name, Robin Marve Linter. While I appreciate that the two middle names are comprised of the names of both sets of grandparents, Marvin and Lee, Lynn and Peter, the amalgams are awful. And Robin is her spelling of Robin because she doesn't want her son to be a sidekick, whatever that means. She doesn't care that he will get bullied, that his name will be mispronounced, misspelled, and a nightmare in any official capacity, that he will grow to be an adult with the name instead of staying as a baby. It was the last straw. So I staged an intervention after regular talking didn't work. I contacted everyone we both know and even posted on Reddit to try to convince her that it's a freaking horrible idea and that she needs to think of more than what will look nice for her TikToks or get her more views. She will have a child, and that child's needs and well-being should be a priority. Naming him a ridiculous word salad and depriving him of toys and joy is not an environment suitable for a child. She called me a jerk, and I called her delusional in return. I really don't think I'm the jerk here, but my wife's family seems to think I overreacted since it's just a name. But if she's willing to do all of this just for stupid views on an app, what else is she going to do to this child for the sake of her influencing? Am I the idiot? Edit. Her and her husband have separated twice in the past, but always end up together again. They keep breaking up and rekindling over and over again. They had an impromptu marriage on Valentine's Day to heal their relationship, as they now have a child on the way. The TikTok thing has been a frequent source of pain for them. You guys can stop insulting my daughter now. Things are getting better, and she is going to therapy. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. This behavior needs to be halted yesterday. What will happen when the child makes a mess? What will happen when they cry for toys and attention? Will she lock the child in a gray aesthetic soundproof room so they don't mess up her videos? What will happen when her traumatized child doesn't perform for the camera how she wants? This sounds like the origin story for a severely developmentally stunted kid locked in a room, deprived of parental affection. Comment 2. Not the idiot, but shouldn't you have known better? Openly opposing someone like your daughter had to be futile. Is the stupid name the hill you want to die on? I'd be more concerned about other aspects of this poor little boy's life. Are you prepared to alert the authorities in case all this really gets weird? By the way, and Robin is her spelling of Robin, because she doesn't want her son to be a sidekick, whatever that means. I'd say that is a Batman reference. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. I've got an update for you, and it's been a hectic few days. After my last post, things escalated quickly. My daughter's husband, let's call him Mike, reached out to me. He was at his wit's end. Turns out, he'd been secretly recording my daughter's outbursts for months, not for any malicious reason, but as a cry for help. He showed me videos of her screaming over a misplaced sock, and another where she threw a plate because it didn't match her theme for the day. It was heartbreaking. Mike confessed that he'd been sleeping in his car some nights just to escape the chaos. He loved my daughter, but the situation was unbearable. He also admitted that he hadn't been evicted to the attic. He chose to stay there to avoid conflict. The attic was his refuge, filled with his belongings that he couldn't have anywhere else in the house. I remembered when they first got together, how they seemed like the perfect match. They met at a friend's barbecue, and it was like they were meant for each other. But as her TikTok fame grew, so did the distance between them. It was a slow burn, from playful banter to silent meals, and now to this. Meanwhile, my wife, who's always been the peacemaker, suggested we try a different approach. She proposed we set up a baby room at our house, filled with toys and colorful clothes, a sanctuary for our grandson. She hoped it would show our daughter what she was denying her child. The next day, my daughter came over, and the change in her was immediate. She saw the baby room and broke down. She admitted she'd been feeling overwhelmed and that the pressure of maintaining her online image was crushing her. She hadn't been going to therapy. She'd been using the money to buy more props for her videos. It was then that Mike dropped the bombshell. He'd been offered a job in another state, a fresh start, and he wanted to take it. He wanted my daughter and their unborn child to come with him, but only if she agreed to leave the influencing behind and focus on their family. The confrontation was intense. My daughter was torn between her online persona and her real life. She accused Mike of trying to control her, but he stood his ground. He told her he missed the woman he fell in love with, not the influencer she'd become. In the end, it was the baby room that did it. My daughter spent hours in there, touching the soft toys, the tiny clothes. She finally agreed to go with Mike to try and rebuild their family away from the spotlight. Fiancé lets mom run our lives and waste our money, so I call off the wedding, but he begs for another shot and finally stands up to her when she shows up uninvited, showing change. I have no idea how or why I overlooked so many things throughout my 8-year relationship, but yet, here we are. But I can't tell if I'm wrong for this. So last night I told my FH that I didn't know if I could go through with our wedding in 2025. He's in shock, as am I. My fiancé treats me great. He's kind, he matches my energy, he makes sure I'm taken care of in a material sense. He's handsome and smart and funny. He is and probably always will be my best friend. But I'm just now starting to see how deep-rooted his mommy issues are, along with financial issues as well. Impulse control. He basically acts like a preteen wanting a shiny new toy whenever he gets a paycheck. I only just started to see how truly bad it was when we moved closer to his mom. A woman who had no hand in raising him. He was a ward of the state from age 8 to 17 when he went to live with his mother's family. He reconnected with his mother from that point. Since we have moved closer to her, he thinks the sun shines out of her butt and has defended her actions thoroughly. She had the means to take care of him, but she ultimately decided she didn't want to be a parent anymore when he turned 8 and left him with some random stranger, one of her acquaintances, to go see her own mother out of state and just never came back. That's how he ended up in foster care. But she has him convinced that she was escaping an hurtful relationship and it was the only way to keep him safe. I argue that she could have brought him with her, but, Anyways, since we now live right down the street from his mom, it's like he's reverted back to teenager years. He calls his mom before making any important decisions and follows her advice instead of mine, even if it's most certainly the wrong choice that affects both of us. He started sending all of his packages to her house as well, which gives her an excuse to show up here whenever she wants to unannounced, and he sees no issue with this open door policy. She doesn't even knock. She just opens the door like she owns the place and rummages our fridge or drinks all of our coffee. Since we moved here, he has been on Facebook Marketplace daily, looking for new things to buy himself. And his mom enables it so bad. If I say that's an irresponsible purchase, she will double down and say, "Well, I think you deserve it, honey. You work hard, treat yourself to something nice." He has borrowed money from her twice, like $20 for gas, and he always pays her back $50 to $100. And despite him treating me the same and still going out of his way to make me happy, I'm starting to become repulsed by him. Now, before anyone mentions it, I have brought this up to him. I've tried communicating several times that his behavior is affecting both of us. And while I understand he's happy to have his mother in his life again, her presence is making him act childish, and he is regressing because of her. He will say, "I understand what you mean," and do much better for a week or two, just to slowly sink back into it. So I called off the wedding last night. I told him that I couldn't go through with marrying him because I couldn't handle his behavior anymore. I didn't sign up to marry a man with deep-rooted mommy issues who makes decisions with mommy's go-ahead that directly affect me. I told him I would be moving. He's now saying he will go no contact with his mother and that he's sorry, but I told him the damage is already done and I can't morally allow him to go no contact with his mom for my sake. I told him there are plenty of women who won't mind this and that I'm sure he will find someone who doesn't mind his mother, but I personally hate the witch and don't want her near me or mine. He's been sulking, understandably, since I called everything off and begging me to reconsider. But I don't think I can. I have never been more turned off in my life, and I'm not sure I can ever look at him the same or chance that woman being in my life under any circumstances because she's toxic and he acts toxic when she's around. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Well done. I can't say this enough. If you read the Just No Mail subreddit, you will see countless, and I mean countless, women dealing with clones of your husband, and they are truly miserable. Nice job on figuring it out firstly. Comment 2. Not the idiot. You can't fix this without years of therapy, and frankly, he doesn't seem worth it. You are young, financially secure, and it is much easier to break with a mommy's boy than divorce one. Now for the update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I'm still reeling from the events of the past few days. I never expected things to escalate the way they did, but here we are. After I called off the wedding, my fiancé was devastated. He couldn't believe I was serious about leaving. He begged me to reconsider, promising he'd change, but I was firm. I couldn't shake off the feeling of being second to his mother, and his financial irresponsibility was a deal breaker. But then, 2 days ago, he came to me with a proposal. He had spent the night at his mom's, which usually would have annoyed me, but this time it was different. He told me he had a long, hard talk with her about our relationship and his behavior. He admitted to her that he was on the verge of losing me because of his actions and her influence. To my utter shock, his mom broke down. She confessed that she had been clinging to him because she felt guilty for abandoning him as a child. She realized she was overcompensating now, and it was harming his life. She agreed to back off and give us space. She even suggested therapy for herself and for him to address their past and his impulse spending. My fiancé then told me he had already scheduled an appointment with a financial advisor to get help with his spending habits. He was taking steps to be more independent from his mom and to prioritize our relationship. I was stunned. This was the first time he had taken such initiative, and it showed me he was serious about making things right. But I was still hesitant. Could I trust this change to last? Yesterday, he came home from work early and sat me down for another talk. He had made a decision. He would move his packages back to our house and set boundaries with his mom. He would only call her once a week and keep our decisions between us. He also showed me a budget plan he had worked on with the financial advisor. I was impressed, but still cautious. I agreed to a compromise. We wouldn't get married in 2025 as planned, but we wouldn't break up either. We would live together and see if these changes were permanent. If he could show me that he was truly becoming the partner I needed, we could reconsider the wedding down the line. He agreed without hesitation. He understood that this was his chance to prove himself. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of hope. But then, last night, his mom showed up unannounced again. My heart sank, thinking we were back to square one. But instead of letting her in, my fiancé met her at the door. They talked for a few minutes, and then she left. He came back inside and told me she had come to apologize to me personally, but he explained that it wasn't the right time. I was floored. He had actually stood up to her for the sake of our relationship. It was a small step, but a significant one. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.